welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments.
Of course, this is a hate crime.
And if she's found guilty, then she has to face the consequences.
They normally end up killing some particular kinds of people.
It's a violation of human rights.
That's a very traumatic event.
So I just wanted to ask the panel about their own opinions on this topic.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sunday Sentiments. Sunday Sentiments is a segment on our YouTube channel where a panel comes together and discusses hot topics and current events from all across the world. Please do be aware though that the views that are shared on this panel do not reflect the views of Four Rings. These are everybody's personal opinions that they've decided to share with us. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoy the video.
Welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments. Our topic today is the impact that the war in Ukraine is having on economies, not only in the UK but around the world. But I think the UK is doubly impacted because we're also dealing with Brexit and the effects of that on the economy. So what was on the news was a Conservative MP when asked about the cost of living crisis that we're facing here, and as I've said around the world as well. She said that people just need to get better paid jobs or get second and third jobs to be able to cope with the cost of living, with the rising cost of living. So what I want to hear from people in general is, what is your reaction to that, and how are your governments in the different parts of the world the panelists are from, how are your governments dealing with the rising costs? Because this is not just a thing in the UK. A lot of countries rely on Russia and for gas and energy. So, and before we move on to that, let me just tell you 4 other things the Conservatives say you can do to meet this cost of living. So one of them is learn how to cook and budget. Yeah, so one of the MPs said people are struggling and having to rely on food banks because they don't know how to cook or budget how to buy, affordable foods. Okay, so that was one of them. Just learn how to cook. Okay. The second one is work more hours. As I've told you, work more hours or get better paid jobs. That was Rachel McLean who said that. Another one said is stop choosing brand names. Just go to Tesco and buy their own brand. So it all sounds very I don't know. Okay, the fourth one, which was the one that I just laughed when I read it, they said you can rent out your granny annex. Okay, so they're assuming everyone just has a house with a free room, an annex that they can rent out, which is, I don't know what you guys think of that. They actually think that the normal person has a spare room or, that they can rent out. So those are the 4 things that have been suggested by the Conservatives that people can do to meet the living crisis. So I'll pass it on to you. What do you think of these, the ones in the UK, and then the rest? What are your own governments doing to help people with all the crises because of the war in Ukraine? Yes, Werimo.
I think what your politicians were saying should actually be referred to themselves. They're the ones who have cooks and housekeepers, and they go and shop in these posh big places, names and all. But generally, normal people, working people, they're hustling for their daily living. I know here in Germany anyway, they have something new that is going to start in summer. I'm sure Catherine has heard about it. €9.50, you can go with the train anywhere in Germany, which is a way they are trying to encourage people because of the high cost of fuel and all. So most people are like, okay, I'm getting that. So that's how it is here.
Yeah, the the €9 ticket. I'm going to Berlin very soon. It's also for public transport on everything, local trains, subway, everything. So I'm looking forward to buy my €9 ticket in June and and travel. It'd be very interesting how full the trains and subways will be if people leave the car behind. But Germany has done a lot more. They just announced a big package to help people. A lot of it is one-off, but helping to give extra money for energy, for heating.
Yeah.
They sort of have tax relief for people that need to travel to work, so they can actually, in Germany, you get a tax deduction for when you travel to work. So they already have taken on real measures, not trying to tell patronizing ideas that you should start learning how to cook. I find that absolutely disgusting what those politicians came out with. It's just patronizing and ridiculous. People who really live on very little money, they are already the experts on how to get by without spending too much. And yes, there might be some who do it differently, but the reality and the majority of those people know exactly how to get by with very little funds. So I find it amazing, but it also shows how clueless this government is and how detached they are from reality, that they would possibly even dare to say these sort of suggestions. It's appalling. It's terrible, really.
Thank you, Nemo and Catherine, first of all, for telling us the situation in Germany. I think those are great initiatives. The one about the travel ticket is, I just love that, because not only are you helping people dealing with this crisis, it's also gonna get people more out of private transport and getting into public transport, which is also good for the environment.
Yeah.
Catherine, thanks also for your point about people who are hustling, are already experts. Stop patronizing people and saying, go buy Tesco's own brand and all that nonsense. I mean, really? Yeah, there might be a handful of people who, and it is a handful, that maybe still want brand names, even though they're living on a tight budget. But most people who are hustling will know this. Don't tell us common sense things. It is patronizing, as you say, Catherine. These people are completely disconnected. If somebody can actually suggest rent out your granny annex to the general public, it's disgusting, it's pathetic. We'll move on to Keshi and then Marie-Claire, please.
I do agree with Catherine and Nemo, especially what Catherine said about these politicians being patronizing. And it just shows how they live in their little bubble and not actually, they need a reality check. And it's the same as the earlier story we talked about, that village where they are planning to bring thousands of male asylum seekers to a little village. And the question people are asking was, why don't they take these asylum seekers to their own neighborhood and see if people will want that? So the point being that politicians make decisions that don't have an impact on them, and then they try to act smart, telling people tips on what to do. I guess she thought she was being funny, or I don't know what she thought she was, but it's you are degrading people by telling them what they already know. So I wanted to say that here in Denmark, the government took a law in April to help families with paying their warming bill or electricity bill or heating bill, where Danes will get a one-time payment of 6,000 or more. I don't remember the exact figure. And this will include like around 400,000 households that earn less than 600,000, a combined income of 600,000 or thereabouts krona a year. I think this is it's a good initiative from the government. It's a one-time payment. I also saw they were talking about giving payments, one-time payments to elderly, because they are also suffering. They get so little in their pension. They've paid all their life, and then they get a taxable pension that's not, it's nothing actually. And then they're also suffering from this economic crisis because prices are going up, fuel prices go up, transport prices go up. Supermarkets are actually increasing their, you know, every day you see increases in prices of foods and so on. I don't know if you've experienced that in your own countries, where they keep increasing and you wonder what, anyway. So the point was that our elderly are suffering because they get very little money and they have to make do. So the government will also give them a one-time payment. But people are wondering, why can't something more be done? Because the government is using so much money to send to Ukraine with the war and so on. And we have its own citizens, you know, undergoing economic hard crisis. But I do applaud the government for that initiative. I think it's better than nothing. It's better than telling people, giving people tips on what to do to survive the crisis.
Okay, thank you very much, Keshi. And a good point there, that a lot of the Western governments are also spending a lot of money and resources to deal with the Ukraine refugee crisis. I mean, it's good that they're doing that, but on the same hand, when you have people in the country struggling with the daily cost of living, yeah, it's something that makes you wonder, like, shouldn't they be doing more, putting even more to support people within the country?
Actually, Shiko, sorry for interrupting. What many people are asking is that when there was COVID and there was a financial downturn, many companies got compensation from the government. But with the current situation, the government says it's not going to do that. So people are wondering why. And it's a point of discussion. Many people are asking, why isn't there more help when during the COVID, which was the government decided to do a shutdown and many companies went down economically. The government was quick and ready to give all these initiatives. So why is nothing being done now of that nature? But of course, the government doesn't have bottomless money, sources of money. That money has to come from somewhere. So if the government has to keep giving money like that, our taxes have to go up. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Keshi. I mean, there's, like you said, it's a point of discussion because we know that there's certain, policing and regulating of private individuals, certain individuals, and then others do get away with the tax evasion and then things like that, you know, and this money that the super rich that engage in tax evasion schemes could actually be useful in situations like this, but we know that it's usually the small guy on the ground that is gonna be regulated and policed in terms of taxing. But anyway, thank you, Keshi. Marie-Claire, and then Nimo.
Yeah, Keshi, I was actually going to attach to the point of pensioners, because if you're a pension, you've already saved the money you planned. Obviously, you can't work again. And then you getting a little money and the government is not even adding it to what you're getting it to help you meet the cost. Are these people live in a real world? You know, they quite need the lived experience. And I'm sure none of them have been in that situation, you know, before they give out the recommendation. And also I found the point is about finding a job that pays better really pathetic, because, for example, when people get refugee status, they are forced to go to work. And by some of them don't have even skills. So the only option, sometimes you go to work in a factory or wherever in a very underpaid job, because that's the only option they have. So how are they going to find a better paid job if the government doesn't even give them a choice to go and increase their skills and study? Or, you know, the whole thing drives me insane. really, it's like, have you even done any research, or those are people who are struggling for you to come out with the solution, or this government has turned into a comedy? It's like living in a comedy world. I don't get it. Yes, the cost is up. People are struggling. Actually, not a while ago, I was talking to someone. Then I don't know, I haven't read this somewhere, but she was saying that one of the MP or somewhere they said, if you get cold, cuddle your pet. You know, whatever. I don't know if you heard about this, but get a pet and cuddle it. But pets cost a lot of money as well. You know, does that make sense? I don't know what gives them a right to say what they say. Yes, we live in a country where you have a freedom of speech, but at least live the experience, give a recommendation or a solution based on why you know, or why it's best for people know why you think it's good for you, because you know a lot of money. Most of them are a lot of money. So how are you gonna, how can you, anyway, I'm really speechless. I'm sorry. I find the whole thing confusing or pattern, right? Yeah, I'm getting speechless. I don't know what to say. It's just disgusting.
Thank you, Mary Claire. Your point about people having to go to the low-paid jobs. So actually, the suggestion in itself is pathetic and ridiculous, because you're telling people to go to better-paid jobs. That means that those jobs still have to be done by someone. That's why I don't even get this suggestion. Saying go get a better-paid job. So who will do then that job that you're saying? Instead of saying we will increase the wages, they're saying go to a better paid job. So how about those low paid jobs? Somebody still has to do it. They need to talk about increasing wages across the board so that nobody has to struggle, rather than just suggesting to get a better paid job. It's just ridiculous. I would like to hear, because now we've talked about Germany, Denmark, and the solutions the government is giving. Keshi said at some point people are saying it's not enough. So I would love to hear with someone from another part of the world, maybe Maggie in Kenya. How are people struggling with living costs, the cost of fuel, petrol, everything going up? How are people in Kenya dealing with it? How is the government, what is the government doing, just to get things in perspective?
You know, already we are on our knees with the economy, and it has been there. So we are still hanging on hopes that after election, we had that one politician promised that those households who are struggling, they'll be given some money to sustain them. We don't know how sure that one will be. And already, I was saying to myself, when COVID came, many companies closed and many people lost their lives. But still, the government is looking for the tax. So this person who does not have a job, where will you get the tax from? And this person, and the company that was giving you some money, it also closed. So it means we have no money in this country. So everything goes up. The petrol is, I think it's double now from where it was. When you go to the supermarket, you can't buy things. They only increase for those people who can afford. There are people who cannot afford even one square meal per day. And just, they are left on their own. We have a proverb that says, your neighbor's hunger will not cause you sleepless night. So that is what is happening here.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much for the perspective from Kenya. I know things are relative, so I'm not trying to dismiss people's struggles here in the Western world, but then you have to hear of people in other parts of the world where even during the pandemic, there was no tax break, there was no support to anyone. People were just left to themselves. And we know, because we've got dual nationalities, we've got some idea of what is happening in home countries for some of us, where the government has lots of money, the rich are filthy rich, and then you have people who are just living on the, is it called the breadline, struggling with no support from anyone. So yeah, perspective, Keshi. I know some people in Denmark feel not enough is being done, but then you've got Denmark on one hand doing this much, and then you have maybe people in Greece don't have as much as Denmark, and then you have people in developed, I don't like that word, in, I don't know what word to say, I don't like that whole developing and whatever.
Disadvantaged, maybe.
Less developed or less privileged.
Yeah, that. Catherine is on mute, so she's saying things, but I don't know what she's saying. Yeah, then you have, you know, countries like Kenya and maybe Iraq or somewhere where people get nothing at all. So it's just good to get things in perspective. It doesn't mean that, you know, we're not recognizing that people are struggling where we are now here in the West. But yeah, Maggie, thanks for sharing. I wanted to say just quickly in terms of information. So in the UK, apparently there's also support that will be offered. And before I say what in the UK it will be, Nemo and Denmark, people from Denmark, when is your support starting? The support to help people with this crisis.
I think if I remember correctly, it's in August where people will get the check, 6,000 krona check to more than 400 and something thousand, over 400,000 families.
Okay,
households.
And in Germany?
I'm not sure about the payments, but the €9 ticket that starts in June. So I assume there is a similar. They've just announced it, so I assume it will just be rolled out pretty much immediately from June onwards.
Okay, so thank you. So I just wanted to show how different countries are dealing with it differently. So you've got June, you've got August. So here in the UK, the support, which is just with energy bills, that is going to start from October. So it makes you just think from now until October, what are people going to do? But also it makes you think maybe it's better that it's closer to winter because people will need the money more at that time. But anyway, the support will start in October. And for viewers in the UK, just so you know, because I didn't know, and I know other people around me didn't know that this support was there. So it just shows you, if this information is not made clear, people are missing out and people will miss out. You know, if you're already hustling and struggling and you don't have the time to keep up with the news, the government really should be sending out letters to households to let them know that support is there. Because I know many people don't know about this support, and that's that people can receive up to £350 to help with the cost of living, especially with the energy. And all domestic electricity customers will get £200 off their energy bills from October, and then 80% of households will receive £150 council tax discount, rebate. That is actually from April. So if you're watching this and in the UK and you've got a huge council tax bill, from now you can try and get this rebate of £150 if you're eligible. So there you go, there's some support. It's not been that clear because people are obviously struggling and maybe they don't know that there's some support even from now in April with the council tax. So please go and apply for this. In the other countries, you've also heard of travel tickets. In Denmark, there's again tax, what do you call it?
Tax relief, yeah.
No, it's not tax relief. We will get a check of 6,000 krona to all families to help with the payment of the heating bill.
Okay, but you did mention something about tax relief, Keshi.
That was me. That was me in
Oh, that
Germany.
was-
There's a
yeah.
lot of tax relief for energy, for fuel. There's actually quite a few. They have quite an intensive list of measures where they're trying to relieve the cost for the people. And it just shows there are ideas, you know, other than telling people to learn how to cook.
Yeah, thank you. And rent out the granny annex. I'm still just perplexed as to why someone would say that. Yeah, so thank you. Even though we have some disconnected from reality politicians, and that's from Kenya to the UK, you know, there's still some support out there. So Google, research, and find out if there's any help where you're living. And yeah, so thank you very much for joining today, for giving us your time. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time. Take care.